Hi folks, we are on our last video here on cleaning up the data set, and we're taking a look at some common errors or issues, and the very last one is talking about some issues with specific question types. So let's go back to our data set here, and we want to take a look at these last few questions here. Actually, let's go to the survey here. So these first few questions here, the first 10, are all check one only, right? Or in this particular case, I mean, this is a bad example of a survey here, so they're just filling in the blanks, but there's only one answer that they give, and so we have one column for each one. I've got some additional questions here, and the first two are also check one only. So what is your income? And so we only have one column for that. Same with the hours of sleep. And we talked about how you convert those labels and so on. But we want to take a look now at these other questions here. So number 13 is a branching question. So you answer, let's see, yes or no. Do you ever sit at the tables at RDC? Yes or no. And then if yes, what is your main reason? Check one only. And then we have down here also that you might actually have a reason other than these three, in which case we would ask them to type something in. So that's a type of question we're going to take a look at. Then we've got to check all that apply. And what we do is we set up a column for each of these options here. And then the next one here is a ranking question. And so we set up a column for each of these options here. And then the last one is an open-ended one. So I want to take a look at those particular questions there. And in our particular survey there, the ones after questions 1 to 12 here. So we've cleaned up all of the issues with questions 1 to 12 here. And I'm just going to go back and resort this thing according to respondent number. And so we've got these first 12 questions are really clean. Let's take a look now at these ones here. So this was the branching question. Do you ever sit in the library? Yes or no? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort according to this. So I'm going to sort, and I've got a bunch of no's here. And then I've got a bunch of yeses. And then I've got some blanks. And the blanks, of course, are not a problem. It just means that people didn't answer that question. However, this is a problem right here. This actually probably should have been highlighted yellow there. All right, so we'll get to that particular guy there. So let's see what we've got here. When you sort like this, you take a look at the next column over here, and it's got if you answered yes, what is your reason? So this actually is, well, it's really an illegal answer here, but they're putting down that it's quiet. So what do you do in this particular case? I mean, they said they never sit there, but if they do, it's because it's quiet. You have to decide whether you're going to change this to a yes or whether you change this to a blank. I would probably actually just get rid of that there. This looks to me like the person is saying, I don't really use the library, but if I were to sit there, it's because it's quiet. And that's not really what you're asking. Your first question, your main question here should take precedence. And it's saying, do you ever sit in the library? So if they give you an answer, you shouldn't use that because it doesn't follow. So I'm going to actually just get rid of that blanket. Actually, I guess, using a different color here, wasn't I? Okay. So that one's good. Now we're going to go down here, and we've got the yeses. Now the yeses all should have an answer with them. So what we've got here is study, and so like this. We've got group. We'll see that that's a problem here. I'm just going to go down here and see if we've got any problems here. This one here says yes, study, and I would handle that as the same way as no. is, why didn't they actually answer yes in this particular case then? So I would get rid of that. All right, this particular person answered yes, but they didn't answer why they study or what the reason is there. So you could actually keep that yes. That's not a problem here. And it's just that we don't know further information about them. Remember, this is the main question, the first part of 13. All right, now let's take a look at some of these things here. And I've got some yellow values. And maybe it would be a good idea here to sort by this one. So I'm going to sort here. So I've got this one here. There we go. Okay. And what we've got here, they must all be at the top. Yeah. So what I've got down here is that people choose either, it should have been by the reason. There we go. Okay, now I'm there. All right. So what is your reason for sitting at the table? And we've got group, and then other, and then quiet, and then study, and so on like this. Now, the way that the question was written, it says, if you had other, then please put in an answer here. And so we'll come back here and we say, well, this is kind of goofy because the person put in group, and then they put in an answer for the other. I'd get rid of that because, again, this takes precedence over this. They should only be answering this if they put in other here. So I'll leave the group there, but I'll get rid of their comment there. This one here is fine. Watching people, eating lunch, and so on like this. These people here put down other. There's not much you can do about that. I mean, you can still use that. You can find out how many people put down other. You just won't find further information about them. And I think we're okay now with that one. Let's see if there's any other yellow cells. I think we're good. So that is that. Okay, so that's the branching questions and the ones where how you handle the if yes, then what, and if other, then what. So that's how we handle that. Let's take a look at this particular one here. And in this particular case, then you've got a check all that apply. So this particular question was number 14, which of the following services facilities you used at RDC in the last month? Check all that apply. So what we do is we set up a column for each of the different options, and if they check it, we put down a 1. Now, this is where these guys come in useful, the difference between the counts and the count A's. So this is telling me 38 and 38, that's not a problem, but here I've got a 34 and a 33 and a 34. And here I've got a 47 and a 48. So that would seem to indicate that we've got some problems here. Now, you can always go back here to your pivot table, and you can go in there and you can actually grab each of those and find out what they are. So this is 14, and bring this down here, and we can see that we had, actually that one was not a problem, we had some blanks there. This one here, yeah, so somebody actually put in an X there. Okay, and then this one here, I think, also had an X. Yeah, somebody put an X there. Thought we had a problem here with this one. Well, we'll take a look at that one. Let's go back now to your data. And if we take a look here, we're just going to, what we can do is we can sort each of these like this. This one's not a problem because we got 47. It's always good to do just, oops. It's always good to do a quick sort here. And just see what we've got. We've got a bunch of 1s, and then we've got a bunch of blanks, and that one's okay. All right. Okay. This, of course, is where we've got a problem. So we're going to sort here. And what we'll see is there's those two X's there. So quite often people will put in an X instead of a 1. So I'm just going to actually change those X's to 1s. And you'll notice up here now we've got the 44s and the 48s. We've got the 38s. I guess there wasn't a problem there. I thought there was. And the 47s. So we've cleaned up this particular one. And they're all 1s or blanks now. All right. Next kind of question is a ranking question. So this one here said, what are your top 3 reasons for selecting RDC? Rank up to 3 choices, where 1 is your top, 2 is your second, and 3 is your third. Only rank those that are important to you. Don't rank beyond 3. So this is what we've got. You also notice that we have another in here and a blank. So the way that we've set this up here is we've got for each of the columns, each of the choices, we've got a separate column here. And then we've got an other column, and each of the others should have a comment with it. So let's take a look at this problem here. Again, if you take a look up here, you'll see that what we should have is numbers, 1, 2, and 3, and that's all we should have in a particular row, unless you have a comment here. And so we go here and we say, yeah, we got a bit of a problem with a couple of these things here, 42 and a 44, and that's because of these X's, the 37 and the 39, and so on. So we've got some problems here that we have to take a look at. If you have somebody in your group who has entered in the values as X's, then why is it doing that? It's kind of goofy. What you do is you just simply change those. It's just being goofy here. I'm not sure why it's doing that. It's not allowing me to select. Okay, so I'm going to change these guys to just 2 1s. There we go. Okay, so we had a 1 there, and a 1 there, and a 1 there. And then we can come down here and find, are there some other ones? Oh, here's an example here where it actually, they typed in first, second, and third. And by the way, if you do this with Google Forms, this is actually how it will appear, is you'll have the words first, second, and third. So you'll need to just sort each one and change all of these into actual numbers here. Okay, like that. And so I think that is good. Let's just go up here, and we cleaned up these guys. Right there. Oops, that's the wrong color. It doesn't really matter. Now, let's take a look at a couple of other problems that we might encounter in this one. In this particular one here, the person actually only selected 1, and that's actually not an error. That's not a problem here. So we're not going to worry about that particular one. It's good as a 1. They don't have to answer. It said up to 3. So that's not really an error. In this particular one, this is an error because the person put in 2 first choices, and then their third choice actually they put down as their second choice. So here's the thing, is that you could manually go and correct these things. However, when you're doing the analysis in this one here, you're going to be using something called a Friedman's test. And the Friedman's test will actually take into account that type of error. So we could change this to a 1. We could change these to 1.5s, and then this becomes a 3. But the ANOVA template that has the Friedman's test will take care of that. So I would just leave that one. However, this is a problem, this one here. So you asked them to rank only the top 3, and they ranked 4. This is illegal. Get rid of it. This one here I said is not a problem. Is It's not legal, but the Friedman's test will take care of it. And then I think the rest are okay except for the others. Okay, this one's also okay. It's okay to put down ones. As long as there's ones, twos, and threes, then you're okay. Friedman's will take into account that. Let's go and take a look now at the others. And so when we sort according to others, what we should have here then is comments for each of these. So this person put down their first choice was other, and that is sports scholarship. And same with these people here and so on. Beautiful people. I like that. And so we've got comments there. Those are good. They're all for ones that had other, which was chosen, so they're good. This particular person didn't give us information, but that's fine. And so everything looks good. By the way, when it comes to the Friedman's test, the one thing I would say about the other is to exclude them. So what you would do is you would actually only use these columns and copy them into the Friedman's template. And take a look at the lab video on the Friedman's test on that one. So you would actually just ignore these. And even if they're rated the top one or something, the Friedman's test will change these into 1 and 2, because we just want to focus in on these with the actual Friedman's test. But this is still useful information when you're writing up your report. Okay. Last type of question here is dealing with long answer questions. Let me just actually check my notes here and see that we've got this. So this is good. Oh, no, there is something here that I did want to mention here. And that is if you have a question where it's a check one only, so there isn't an example of this, the way that we've set up the data set, but I did want to mention here, if you've got a question which is a check one only and they do check more than one option, we don't have a good example of that in the questionnaire, but let's say this one was, what is your main reason? Check one only, and then they ended up checking more than one. So what do you do in that particular case? Do you toss that out? What if they check food court and document center and sports facilities, but they didn't check far side? Well, you still got useful information there. And so you could use something like the coin method. The problem with the coin method, which we talked about before with those half values for ratings, is that it's not just simply a round it up or round it down. It's which one do you actually select. So in that particular case then, when it's a check one only and they check more than one, have a die beside you, a dice, right? So roll the die and you'd actually number these 1, 2, 3, and 4. And roll it and it comes up a 2. If they had checked 2, then that's the one that you keep. The other ones you just get rid of. Because that is what they're really saying then, is that is an important reason for them. That's one of the reasons that they come. However, they were illegal in terms of answering more than one option, so just keep one of them and roll the die to find out which one. If you roll a 5 or 6, you just roll it again until you get a 1, 2, 3, or 4, and then you keep that one. Or again, if they didn't check, say, far side, then and you roll a 2, then just roll it again until you get a 1, 3, or a 4. And so that's an easy way of handling that. So I wanted to mention that one, although we don't have an example of that in the data set here. So I think we are good in terms of that. We've got the check all that applies. We've talked about the ranks. The last one here is the open-ended question. So this one here says, what do you like best about being an RDC student? And whoops, that is the last question over here. How do you actually put that into your data set? Let me just sort here according to the respondent number again. And this is what we've got down here. So you can type this in. I think I like the thing I like most about RDC is the people. They are really friendly and they always hold the door open for you. I actually just made that up. But I wanted to use that one as an example. This actually isn't a very long comment, and yet it takes up a lot of space here. It just spills over a number of empty columns here, although it's all in one cell there. And so how do you handle that? Well, one thing you can do, and I think this is probably the better way, is just simply put down here comment 13, because this is respondent number 13 over here. All right, and then we've got another comment down here. So comment 38 is from respondent number 38, and then you just put those comments down in a Word document. That's all you do, and then you just summarize them. Now, the other thing here is that I purposely wrote this poorly. Let me just make this a little bigger so you can see this here. It says, the thing I like most about RDC is the people, spelt wrong. They are really friendly and always hold the door open for you. Bad punctuation. The word think is wrong. It should say thing, and people is spelt wrong. The question is, do you correct it or not? And that's something that you should actually discuss with your client, is to, do they want to see the corrected comments or not? Probably they do. And so just make sure that if you do correct them, that you're not changing the meaning in any way. So I would probably clean this up a little bit here and change the word think to thing, and put in some punctuation and spell people correctly. And that would be good. And again, put this down as comment number, 3, because that's respondent 3, and then just have them listed. So that is it. I'm just going to change that to comment number 3, and of course that would be listed somewhere else. And I think that finishes where we're at here in terms of that. We are done. So let's just go back and take a look at our data set. I don't think there's any yellow cells left. Oops, I'm going the wrong way. So let's just scroll here. Okay. I'm at the bottom here. I'm just going to scroll up here. I think we've made all the corrections that we want here. Good. Now, so what do we do now? Well, we save this. And in fact, what I should have been doing is saving this frequently as I go. And in fact, when I do a bunch of cleaning, what I do is I make copies of the file and then continue on, and even make copies of the tab, so that if something goes kablooey, that you haven't lost a whole lot. What I would do next then is I would make a copy of this thing here, move a copy, and then I can, if I want, I can get rid of these guys at the very top here. Now, personally, I would actually keep these ones in here because I find them useful in terms of just looking at the data, but you don't need to have them in there. And so you could get rid of them. And you can even get rid of that one there, that blue one. So here's your data set. It's all really nice and clean now. And we're going to call this I guess the clean data. That is your final version. We would make a copy of this, and then what I would do is I would get rid of all the other tabs. Now I'm still going to keep a copy of this spreadsheet here because it has that original data. So we can always go back to the absolutely original data, the way the thing came here, if there was some sort of error that you made in terms of the cleaning, right? But in terms of the analysis, what I would do is I would just simply take this one here, right, make a copy of it, and put that into a new book. And now what you've got here is you've got a new book, which is the clean data. All right, you can of course go like that, call it clean data, and that is the clean data that you can now work on. From this point forward, of course, what do you do? Well, let's go back to here and say, get others to check over everything that's been done here to make sure that there isn't any errors. And then follow the protecting the data conventions. So make multiple copies, save it on multiple computers, make copies of the sheets within the worksheet, the workbook. So again, that becomes the clean data is your new kind of original data, and make sure that you never touch that. Color it all red, which is what I did before, and then only work on copies of that sheet. That's it, folks. That's a lot of verbiage about how to clean up the data, but it takes a little while, and it's an important thing to do. And so that ends this set of lessons. Thanks for watching.